This is world-famous pop artist Andy Warhol. I've decided to use his face to show you how to draw contour lines that you can use on your self-portrait in order to create a sculpture. Let's talk about a few words before we get started. First of all, the word contour. If you think back, you'll remember that we used contour lines in drawing. Contour lines are lines that show shape. And so we're going to be using contour lines. You'll remember also, during that same drawing unit, I told you about shading following the curve of the object. In order to make it look real, you want to make sure that your shading is following, in this case, the round shape of this cylinder. We're going to follow the contours of the late Andy Warhol's face, as if this were your self-portrait that you were trying to turn into a sculpture. Now remember, when we talk about sculpture, we're not going to talk about negative space and positive space. There are different words for that when we're talking about sculpture. If we talk about sculpture, we're talking instead about solid, which will be equal to the positive space, and void, which will be equal to the negative space. So if we were to draw a donut, then the area filled with the good stuff would be, can you guess it? Right, the solid. In the area in the middle, and of course the area all around, that would be void. You've probably heard outer space as referred to as a void. A void is a hole or an opening, or in sculpture could be also an indentation. So let's get started trying to figure out what the contours of this face will look like. And remember that you can use shapes, but it's not a wise idea to use shapes that don't follow the contours. So, as an example, if I wanted to use a rectangle, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to take a rectangle and draw it like that on the face. That tends to give you the illusion that the face is very flat. You'd be better off using a rectangle that looked like this. You can see that I followed the contour of the face, and therefore it does have more of a round look. It also looks as though it does create unity with the face itself. So in no way should you do exactly what I'm doing here. Your job is to come up with a totally original take on your face. I'm going to get started now by adding some lines of my own. You can see I've drawn around the lips. Now I'm going to actually add some contour lines to the lips. This will make it a little bit more interesting later on. Now I'm going to take the eyes and I'm going to draw around them. And there I go. Now I'm going to start adding some contours. So I'm going to get the nose done now so that I know where it is. And now I feel that I'm ready to put in some other details. So I'm going to put in some very, very simple details. I think I'd like to put in some suggestion of the hair. So I'm going to do that now. And I'm not being terribly exact here because I don't want to take up a lot of time. But I do want to show you how it might be good to go about adding details to your work. Now, he doesn't have a lot of detail in his hair, but I'm actually going to add some lines that I would like to include. And now I think I'm going to add some lines like that, and your lines should actually start and stop at a line. You don't want just random lines. It's a little bit hard to do up in this area. You'll have to forgive me if I missed some lines. I'll put them back in later. And you can see that I'm trying to put in something that in some way follows the contours of his hair. If I want to, I can add some details like that, or I could just leave it plain. Of course, these lines also would go with the flow of the hair. I'm going to just leave it the way it is, and I'm going to go and take a look at the face. You can see that I've already begun adding some details to the face. I'm not doing this as inventively or even as interestingly as I could, because I don't want to in any way take away your options by using it on my own work. Please don't copy anything I've done here. I'm trying to show you how I'm following the curve of the face. Trying to give you a sense of what the facial structures look like. And these will come in handy when I move on to doing the actual sculpture. Now, I think I'd like to go ahead and remove his photo and see what we actually have created here. I think you can see that I've accomplished something that looks pretty three-dimensional and will lead to a pretty nice sculpture. I'm quite excited about this because I can see where I can use my best repoussé technique to have these lines that I've drawn go back in space while the areas between them pop out. Go ahead and try your own repoussé sculpture using your picture. If you need any help, you know where I am. Have fun. These can be really, really cool when you're done with them. Take your time. Bye.